Welcome to today's practice. This is part of the How to Move Your Body Home Yoga program. I'm Brentan, and today we're going to focus on developing our wrists. So as you're ready, let's go ahead and get started in a comfortable seat, whether you sit down on the floor on your mat or you come up into a couch or something like that, totally fine. We want to see if we can come to a nice tall spine where our pelvis is neutral and our ribs are neutral. And when we hold the arms down by the side, the thumbs are pointing forward. And so this makes it so that our arm bones are not sort of rolling forward in the socket. It's not that bad that when that happens, it just might not feel super optimal as we're moving. So we'll just set ourselves up nice and tall. And then as you're ready, we'll start to move our wrists actively. So if we take our arms out in front of us, you can simply start looking down at the forearms, placing the forearms completely face down, and starting to work the wrists through some flexion and extension. Now, as you look down at each one of your forearms, you want to see that they're really frozen in space as best as you can manage that. And that's why looking at them is really cool here, because you can see precisely like, oh, okay, when does my forearm want to sort of lift and lower? When does my forearm want to sort of roll in and out? And the more that we can direct this into the wrists themselves, that means the more the wrists are developing their capacity to do movement. So that's great. Let's go ahead and just come to a neutral wrist there. We can take the palms nice and flat. And you can see now like the bony knobs on the end of your arm bones, like right at the wrist. Those are going to be our visual points. You have one on the inside and one on the outside. They're the two forearm bones that come down into the wrist. And so what we want to do is freeze those puppies in space and just move our palms internal and external. So keep the palms facing down. Try to freeze the forearm bones. And if this is a lot to pay attention to, just think like, hey, you can just do one at a time. Totally great. Okay, so now from here, let's go ahead, build some fists. Thumbs can go to the outside. And again, freezing the forearm bones in space. We'll see if we can start moving the wrists into some circles. You can get a really good sense here of your wrist movement as opposed to your forearm movement. Sort of like if the forearms are moving, that means that the movement isn't all coming from the wrist. And what we're trying to do here is really build up the capacity of our wrists to do the work they're supposed to be able to do. Alrighty, let's go ahead, release that. You can shake it out. You can kind of stretch and curl into your hands a little bit. Let's go ahead, come down on our yoga mat towards like an all fours position. Okay, so all fours. And we'll actually take, a lot of pressure out of the wrists here by sitting back towards the heels. And so if you needed some pad under your legs or behind your bottom or something to make this more comfortable, you can do that. Go ahead and layer the hands down and forward. Let's set the arm bones in a way where they're gonna feel like they're also benefiting from this. So if you spin the soft crease of your elbows forward and towards the pinky, and just kind of like sway yourself a little bit left to right. See if you can feel your collarbones. That's these ones on the front. See if you can feel your shoulder blades on the back. So the wrists are pretty deloaded right here. Most of our body weight is back towards the hips and towards the heels. So from here, we're just gonna take some palm lifts, lifting the wrists up and down. There's a lot of weight-bearing postures in yoga, and so when we have that wrist pain, which is really common, it's usually because the wrists the tissues around the wrists are not creating positions with their strength. It's more like, oh, we're just kind of slamming into our wrist joint. Let's see if we can actually lift our hips up a little bit more walk the palms a little bit more forward. So now you're kind of like, you're almost in a tabletop, but you're still back a little bit. Then you feel it in the hippies there too. And so same thing, up and down with the wrist creases. And always, my friends, you know, there's two of these we're working at the same time, so you can always just work one. Let's go ahead and walk the palms a little bit more forward, now more like a true table, even like leaning more forward towards like a knees down plank. That's gonna load the wrists up with more of your body weight. So the more load it is, the more challenging it is. Here we go, we have our wrist lifts one more time. Starting to really feel all the muscles in the forearms. As you're ready, sit back, shake it out, anything you want to do. Now you can sort of feel how like the muscles completely surrounding the forearms have to work to control this. So we're strengthening them, we're providing more stability for the joint, more mobility for the joint, all really great things. Let's go ahead and continue that same sort of progression, but we'll do different wrist movements with it. So as you feel ready, we're gonna keep the hips back. We'll go ahead and plant the palms down in front, again, spinning the soft creases of the elbows forward and out, and just swaying a little bit there so you feel nice and plugged into the shoulders. And here, we'll pop up onto the fingertips and come back down. Now we're getting all the muscles on the underside of the hands, and these are really important ones to help support the wrist from the underside. Let's walk it a little bit forward, like a baby table, pelvis back a little bit. You might feel this in the hips. Great, double doing it. Coming up and down. As you feel ready, one more palm print forward, a little bit more weight there, and same thing up and down. Try to keep the shoulders and the upper body forward so you keep load in the hands and the forearms. As you feel ready, go ahead, release, relax, shake it out. Feel all of this good stuff. So this stuff should be well developed in here so that when you go to do your planks, your downward facing dogs, these muscles are actually working to control the wrist position rather than you just going, okay, well, I'm here and like now I'm just hanging out over this joint. And basically what's doing my work? Well, it's gravity and it's the leverage of the floor pushing up into the hand. So there's really no strength benefits that are happening when we do that. These are the types of exercises that can help us build up those capacities so that we have access, the brain has access to those muscles to turn them on during our yoga practice. Let's do one more. So we lean forward with the hands. We kind of shift our way a little bit left and right. So we settle the arms, the shoulders, all of that good stuff. Now we started by lifting the wrists. What if we kept the wrists here and we just tapped the hands? You're gonna notice like your forearms are definitely moving here. When I look down, mine are super moving. Now try to minimize that, but the goal is not perfection. The goal is just more precision than last time. Go ahead and walk your palm print one forward, still a little bit back there so you don't have so much load in the wrists, up and down. Can you negotiate a position for your neck and your shoulders where things are feeling good, nothing's feeling tugged? One more palm print forward. Here we are. Now we're shoulders over the wrist. We got a lot of load there. One more time. We could even make this more dynamic if we press ourselves back, but we keep doing it. And forward. And back. I'm just doing that a couple of times. Okay, come forward now. So you have 90 degrees of passive wrist extension here. That's that. And now, that's a shape that comes up a lot in yoga. Your planks, your tables, your arm balances. Some of the arm balances even have more, like a crow pose would take you more there. So we want to be able to have this in this range of motion, but we want it to be more active. So imagine that you froze this angle right here as you sit your hips back and you pull the hands back with you. And then coming all the way forward, landing the shoulders over the wrists as the fingers come down, pulling the fingers up with you as you reach back, holding that extension, coming forward. Just doing that one more time. Super great work here. You can sit back, shake it out, see how you feel. It's here that I'll recommend we go down to our back. If you have 2 yoga blocks, you can go ahead and grab those. If you don't have 2 yoga blocks, just grab like 2 Tupperware containers or something like that. So first things first, set yourself up so you're nice and comfy on your mat. Your spine feels good. Your legs can be in any position. From here, what we'll do is we will just take the, the blocks onto the hands, try not to drop them. And now imagine that on your blocks, you're balancing like a full wine glass. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna press the blocks all the way up to the sky without spilling the wine glasses. And then we'll bend the elbows and draw them down. And we'll just move up and down like that. Trying to be really precise with not just how we position the blocks, but also what's your chest doing? What are your arms doing? What are your shoulders doing? Do you feel kind of locked into your core here so you're building nice stability through your trunk? As you go up this next time, we can pause there. And again, imagining that you have those wine glasses, we're trying not to spill them. Start to move the arms around in different positions. And you can look at your blocks. You can see how good of a job you're doing. I mean, if I really had wine glasses here, I'd have wine all over my face. But you're starting to build up the capacity of your wrists to do wrist extension. As you feel ready, returning that all the way down to the ground. Go ahead, release your blocks out to the side. We can sort of stretch our wrists out here. So if you let them flop in, that's wrist flexion. You can actually take your hand and kind of press the back of your hand towards your forearms. You get a nice passive little stretch there through the forearm muscles. You can do that with the other one. And you can do the passive wrist extension as you kind of pull the hand back towards the forearm. And sort of rolling out there. You can be kind of liberal, loosey-goosey with it. Let's go ahead however you like. Come back on up to a seat, and not just to that, but we'll roll forward back to that tabletop position where you'll get to decide if you want to work in a tabletop or a plank. So just loading the wrists a little bit here. One of our classic weight-bearing postures in yoga. Just see if you can get kind of settled up here, easy in the breath. Building into this wrist work, can we shift left to right over the wrists? So this is shoulder stability in addition to wrist mobility. And shift over the wrists, circles, both directions. As you feel ready, maybe you just press yourself on up and back towards a downward facing dog just for a moment there. Maybe you even separate the feet nice and wide. Get the heels lifted. Push the arms down and forward. Push out of the shoulders. Get your tailbone to move away from your head so your spine gets super duper long. Can we push off the hands one at a time to walk all the way back to the feet there?
folding over the legs at the back of the mat. Now the wrists are gone. You can even take the tops of the wrists to the ground. If you can reach the ground. If you can't, you can always do it on your thighs. As you feel ready, pressing down through the feet, rolling the spine all the way up, nice and slow motion. As you feel ready, you can reach the arms all the way out and up. And tipping over the legs, forward fold. From here, we can walk ourselves back, forward, downward facing dog. Feeling your wrists there. And shifting the knees down and forward. You can come to an easy seated position. The wrists should be really prepared now to go do sun salutations or really like whatever, feels fun and exciting. So I thank you very much for joining me for this wrist development practice. I hope that you got a lot out of this, that your wrists start to feel better, but also work better. And that will be our long-term strategy for pain relief in that area. So thank you so much again for joining. I'll leave a link to our Patreon in the description below if you want to donate to this work. We'd love to see you over there. Other than that, I'll see you right here next time as we get into the hands. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.